So everyone has come back from lunch and is nice and refreshed. So thank you so much. So we would like to welcome you to our panel. We are going to have a wonderful discussion, and we are all so delighted to be a part of the National Black Pre-Law Conference here at Harvard. And so we are so delighted to see all of your smiling faces. And I will introduce myself and have our other co-moderator introduce herself. My name is Kendra Brown. I'm the Senior Director for Diversity, Inclusion, and Affinity at the American University Washington College of Law. And so we look forward to seeing many of you on our campus, potentially. We have an admissions fair this evening that you are invited to, and we want you to speak with all of the admissions reps who are fluttering around here. We really do want to encourage each of you to do all that you can to be strong applicants so that we can continue the pipeline of diverse candidates into the field of law. So that's who I am, and our co-moderator.
Good afternoon. My name is Anu Murthy, and I'm the National Director for In-House Counsel Search at Parker & Lynch. I graduated from the Boston University School of Law, I hate to say it, 27 years ago, so it's nice to be back here in Boston, working in Boston again. Again, I want to welcome everybody and encourage everybody to take everything that you can from this amazing conference that has been put on. Back when I was applying for law schools, we didn't have the resources that are available to you now. So make the relationships, make the connections, and really think about what you want to do going forward in the field of law. My hope for all of you aspiring lawyers is that in 10 years that I'm going to be placing you as general counsel in corporations all over the country, all over the world, and I just want you to know you are what lawyers look like.
So I will put one plug in for an organization that I was the national chair of. I was the national chair of the National Black Law Students Association, and I know that you met Brandon earlier, right? He's right over there. He's the current national chair. And so I know that NBPLC has launched me into the career that I now am in. And so I just encourage you all to really partner with NBPLC, really ensure that you are getting the pre-law resources that are critical to your success. I attended Vermont Law School, failed to say that, and then I also went to George Washington for my Master's of Law. I am a Hampton University undergrad, and also a graduate of the Howard University School of Divinity. So we are, thank you. So we all come from very diverse backgrounds. And so with that, we are going to introduce our panel, have them introduce themselves and share their name, their title, where they went to law school, and anything else that you think is pertinent for our wonderful audience.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sarah Van Steenberg, and I'm a managing director at Major Lindsey in Africa in Washington, D.C. And MLA is a legal search firm. We place attorneys who are starting on our law firm side. We place attorneys starting after they've been practicing about 3 years on up. We move partners and associates. We help with law firm mergers, all of that. And then on our in-house side, we do a lot of general counsel and in-house counsel searches as well. So that is me. Oh, and I went to the University of Virginia for law school. Great place.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yannick Brooks. I'm the Director of Student Services and Advising at Cardozo Law School in New York City. I went to law school. I went to Florida A&M University for law school. And went to UMass Amherst for my bachelor's, and I'm in my dissertation phase for my PhD at Northeastern.
Hi everyone, my name is Joy Tolliver. I am the General Counsel at Essex County College in Newark, New Jersey. I went to law school at Rutgers Law School. I did my undergraduate work at Fordham University, and really excited to be here. I'll share very briefly. I started my career as a law clerk. I then went on to become a prosecutor, spent years in private practice, and then became a general counsel. So you can do many things before you get to the job that you actually love. So. Great to have you here.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Nydia Duenas, and I am the Dean of Students and Diversity Affairs at Southwestern Law School in Los Angeles, California. I received my bachelor's degree from the University of Southern California and my Juris Doctorate from Southwestern Law School. I also teach the Youth Parole Offender Clinic at Southwestern Law School.
I'm Ricky Anderson, practice entertainment law out of Houston, Texas. My undergraduate degree is from Prairie View A&M University. I got my law degree. I got my law degree from Thurgood Marshall School of Law, where I'm an adjunct professor. It's my 21st year there, and so I'm truly entrenched in entertainment law. Again, it's not probably where you would expect the entertainment lawyer to come from, out of Houston, being from most of the businesses in New York and LA, but I've got 18 television shows on right now today. Everything from Family Feud, Bull, to Vet Life that's on the Animal Planet, Judge Mathis. You look at Tyler Perry's properties, For Better or Worse, or The Pains. I've enjoyed this practice, but also in music where you young people come in. I started off with Tony, and Ron Isley, and all those guys. I still represent Eddie LaBerge, but Tiso Korean, it got dipped. They got 10 million streams this week, as of today, as one of the songs that you would be familiar with. Or you look at Megan Thee Stallion, or Bria Janae, that won that television series Signed with VH1, that's touring with Rick Ross and A Dream right now. So this is your world. I'm a little older, I've earned this gray hair. Certainly want to invite you all to the legal industry, but there's a lot for you to do when you start looking at, this artificial intelligence and blockchain communication. So you're right at the place that you should be, getting ready for the world tomorrow and being the legal minds behind it. Thank you for having me.
So we're going to begin. I just wanted to read what the topic of the panel discussion is. You don't know what you don't know. Game-changing advice they don't teach you, but you really need to know to succeed in law school, the professional world, and in life. And with that, I'm going to ask the panel the first question. What are some of the must-haves that every aspiring lawyer must own in order to project a professional business image in attending conferences, networking events, business meetings, job interviews, etc.? For example, professional attire, briefcase, dark shoes, etc. So we're going to open it up to the panel to answer.
Obviously, a suit, you want to be properly attired in a suit. It can be a pantsuit if you're a woman. You don't have to wear a skirt suit anymore to meet with people. I think you can have a briefcase, but nowadays a lot of things are done electronically. So, a lot of people put they'll have business cards. You can get those printed up and you can put them in the back of your little name tag, and that's a great way and an easy way to get to your business cards. And then you want to have some sort of resume put together just in case someone asks for it.
I would say for the gentlemen, have suits that are tailored. Invest in getting your suits tailored, because it does make a difference when you're presenting to employers, along with what my co-panelist has said so far.
And how do you find a tailor?
Oh, good question. Most places where you buy your suits from actually have tailors, as well as if you go to dry cleaners, they'll actually tailor it for you. If you get your suits from Brooks Brothers or from Macy's or from even Sears, they all have tailors on staff.
For the ladies, I would say when you are wearing your suits, make sure that the fit is modest. And specifically by modest, what I mean is, when you leave a meeting or you leave an interview, you don't want the last impression that you've made to be, how the suit fits you, right? You don't want people to see all of our outlines of our body. We want to make sure that, the image that we are portraying and conveying is one that's professional, modest, not too tight, right? We want to make sure that we're not exposing any parts of the body that should be left unseen, and we want to make sure that we are covered up appropriately.
My suggestion would really be just ensuring that you have your business cards prepared. All of you are embarking on a profession that is based around networking. So any opportunity that you have to share a business card, to get on someone's radar, you definitely want to do that. I would also advise maintaining some type of business card like wallet, where when you're out and you meet someone that you'd like to keep in contact with, you ask for their card and you keep that in that place. So next time you're thinking about some particular area of law you're interested in, or someone that you'd like to call to get information about the work that they do, you can go to that business card wallet and locate the cards of folks that you thought are interesting and have something to offer you in terms of just knowledge of their legal work that they do.
And I would add to that too, probably more so for the men, certainly make sure you're groomed. I mean, if you'll get a haircut to go out on Friday night, why not get a haircut for an interview, or make sure you're well shaved and that it's just so they'll know who you are and who they're getting, because they're inviting you into their professional world. And also be mindful too. One thing about working and you're looking at getting into a profession is you're there, at least 8 hours of the day. So you want them to know that's who you are, that neat professional that's looking to indulge in the legal profession.
Thank you very much. And I wanted to add, when I was interviewing 27 years ago, we were not allowed to wear pantsuits. So I'm glad things have changed quite a bit. I'll just add one other piece of advice. I would stay away from putting a photograph or something quirky on your resumes or your business cards. You want to be judged for your credentials first, so I would just want to add that. So the next question that I want to ask the panelists is, what is a personal brand, and how do you go about developing a personal brand? Your personal brand is really who you are, and from a uniqueness perspective. And when you look at branding, you've got some identifiers that are really easier for you to kind of embellish. Be it me, I wear bow ties all the time. It's a personal brand. I carry a briefcase. In fact, when I was in law school, and I was the class president and the vice governor of the American Bar Association, and they did a skit on me. And they had they had me with a cell phone, a briefcase, and 10 other things, because I always wanted to get as much done in a day as I can. And so as you're now taking your steps towards your career futures, you've just got to know what are the traits that you really have and what brought you this far, because you've accomplished everything you did on your own to get here. You can listen to us today, but guess what? I didn't take your final exam to get you here. I didn't dress you up this morning because you wanted to look a certain way. You've got to package that and go, this is who I am when you're branding yourself. I get everywhere early. I mean, I promise you, I was at an event with Steve Harvey in Atlanta. I was a minute late. They said, he's dead. He's never late. And what happened is I ended up missing a flight, so the car that was to pick me up didn't get me, but I'm glad that they thought that about me, because you could rely on my punctuality that heavily that someone should think if you step out of that space. So pick your characteristics, build your brand as you're growing into your space. I live by my calendar. If it's on the calendar, live by it. So start creating your personal brand so that you're identified by it, and be very good at what you do, because people will rely on that, but that means you've got to deliver that every time. I can't, because I've been practicing almost 30 years, start showing up late. It's not my brand. And I can't not, represent what I know I do with other clients, because now you guys expect these names that you hear to have a lawyer that looks a certain way. So be mindful that that's what you're creating, that's what you're getting ready to build, but that brand is you. And we'll talk about in another session what happens when you're creating brands, but just take yourself, analyze it, and use that to your advantage.
I think one of the things that you said that was a little subtle, because I agree with what you're saying, is that your brand, it will shape and morph over time as you gain tenure in your career, as you become more senior and gain different skills. When you are brand new as a lawyer, your brand is going to be saying yes and being excited about whatever opportunities, because the whole point is to get the tools in the toolbox, to get the right skills and experience so that you have doors open at the end of that job. But when you're more senior, the things that you're going to be focusing on, the things that you're going to be thinking of as your brand are going to evolve, and they're going to be a little bit different. And so whatever you're putting out now while you're in college and you're thinking about law school is going to be very different than when you get out of law school, and even far different 10 years, 15, 20 years into your career. So just know that there is some fluidity here, You know, there are going to be some certain things like responsiveness and timeliness that are probably going to be carry, you know, threads all throughout, but there will be things that will be kind of ebb and flow.
Yeah, I think I'd just like to add to that all of you are creating your personal brand now through the relationships that you're making. I think everyone looks absolutely fabulous and professional in this room, and I'd like to just really say that you're all doing amazing work by networking this early on and taking advantage of these opportunities. That's part of your brand. You're already demonstrating that you show diligence and that you want to learn how to be as successful as possible in this career path that you're choosing. I would just add to that the branding is consistent, right? Some of our favorite brands, let's say Coca-Cola, Pepsi, if one day we purchase it and it tastes different, we're let down because we come to expect something about that brand. And I know we all can think of brands that we just think maybe are not of par, right? They're not as good as other brands. We are that way as well in the legal profession. People will get to know you by the characteristics that you demonstrate in your meetings with people, and they'll associate you to be a certain type of attorney. So I think the branding is very important, and it starts now. It starts in college, it continues on through law school, and certainly all of the work that you receive or the opportunities that you do not receive will be directly tied to your brand.
And just to piggyback on that, you know, your brand is not just how you look, right, but it's how you treat people, right? It's how you carry yourself. I will tell you the truth, and maybe this will come up later in our conversation, but there have been jobs that I've been offered not because of my grades or because of what law school I went to, but just because of the person that I am and continue to be. So I just encourage you, you know, be a person who's trustworthy, you know, be a person who's reliable, be a person who, you know, shows up to places on time. Be a person that people can say, you know, this is a workhorse, you know, he works hard, she works hard. I want him on my team, or I want her on my team. Something that I say to my staff all the time, you know, if you're the Deputy General Counsel, you are the Deputy General Counsel everywhere you go, not just in this building. So when you're in the supermarket, you're the Deputy GC. When you're on the playground with your kid, you're the Deputy GC. For many of you, you might be the first person in your family to go to law school, right? People are rooting for you. And knowing that you're going to succeed. So wherever you are, make sure that, you know, you are portraying, you know, that image of excellence and that image of consistency, and just being a person that people will want to call when they need a lawyer.
So I have a few things that I want to add very quickly. Who can finish this sentence for me? To be on time is to be late, and to be early is to be on time, right? So you all understand that, right? So I need you to embrace that, live that, and know that that is a life rule. One. So I think the second point is that your brand precedes you in a room, but it also resonates after you have left the room, right? So understand that your brand is always attached to you, and I think that what our panelists have stated is very important. You are building your brand now. Even just by being here, you are building your brand. And for all who are on social media, I would hope that you're posting that you are here, because it's very important that you are here, you know, because folks are watching that and folks see that and know that you are really sowing into your own future. I will say that I worked on Capitol Hill for 11 years, and relationships matter. You never know who knows who and who is going to speak on behalf of you, so that's why your brand matters. So we're going to transition into our next question. What are, for our panelists, the most common mistakes that individuals make relative to social media?
I would say for social media, sometimes you control what you post, but you have to be mindful of when people tag you in their posts. Because it still is a reflection on yourself, even if it's someone else tagging you. A lot of times there are a lot of privacy guidelines that you can do for your social media accounts. Be mindful that you are approving everything that goes onto the public's face.
So, you know, there was a very popular television show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And, you know, in times when people needed help, you know, there was an option to call a friend or to phone a friend. Right? That is what I urge you to do. You know, if you're having a bad day or you're frustrated or you're tired or you're angry, phone a friend. don't put it on social media, right? No one needs to know. And that's a part of your brand, you know. I represent public entities. And unfortunately, we've had to fire people because of things that they put on social media that don't reflect well, not only on themselves, but also on the corporation or the entity. So I just encourage you, you know, to phone a friend, write it down, you know, go outside and scream, whatever you have to do, but don't tell the world about things that the world doesn't need to know about, because it really could stand in the way of a great opportunity that could be coming.
I would add to that to say, Google yourself. Do a search of what comes up when you enter your name. What photographs, what links, what things did you post on Twitter 6 years ago that exist that are associated with your name? Do a social media cleanup. And if you're applying for jobs and there are aspects of your posting that are politically charged, that perhaps you have photographs of yourself maybe where you're drinking, you're scantily clad, things of that nature, they come up. Employers will search you. I have had to have conversations with students who received job offers. The offers were rescinded because a Google search easily pulled up photos that the employer thought were suggestive. And the employer felt that those photographs, that image didn't align with their brand. Now, I am of the mind people can dress how they choose, they can express themselves how they choose to, but you also have to be aware that people also have the right to respond to your image and choose not to associate with your image. So you have to be prepared to understand that. So I would advise that if there are certain things that you're applying for, ensure that your page reflects the type of person that employer is looking to represent them.
Could I add one thing? Not just employers, because you were all about to go into the application process. And some admissions offices, though they don't look at every student, if a student seems interesting or a question mark, sometimes they would just type in your name in a Google search and see what actually shows up. And if the first thing that shows up is your social media account and it's not reflective of what you wrote in your personal statement or what everything else is saying, then you're going to be looked at differently.
I would echo again, I think it would be great for you to post that you're here today.
That is true.
So, yes, you have more to say? Okay. So what is, for our panelists, what is relationship building and how can that help folks who are in our audience today?
I think relationship building begins with being very genuine. I remember my first year in law school, I attended an event that was similar to this, and myself and some of my law school classmates, we were walking into the building, and another person came late, and he said, you know, is there anyone here worth meeting? And my response to him was, I think everyone's worth meeting, you know, whether it's the moderator, whether it's the panelist, whether it's another law student, whether it's a person who's at the registration desk, whether it's a person who's cleaning the floors. You know, you want to treat everyone as though they matter and everyone as though they're important, because first of all, that's just about being a good person, but you know, you never know who you're going to meet, and you never know how your association with the person sitting next to you or the person on the elevator is going to be instrumental in helping you get to the next phase of your career. So, you know, never look down on anyone, never treat anyone as though they're less than you. Treat everyone with kindness, with dignity, with respect, and you will be sowing seeds into great relationships.
I would just add to that by saying that you never know the opportunities that you don't receive because of the impression that you left someone with. And I think that's why it's so important that you are building your brand now and that you're aware of that. Every career opportunity that I've had, and I've worked at Universal Music Group, Sony Pictures, I've worked in criminal defense, and I'm now in academia, has been a result of my law school network. Every single opportunity. And I don't think I knew that at the time. So I feel very fortunate that I conducted myself in a manner that people felt that they wanted to give my name for a potential job opportunity or refer me to speak to someone. But and also when I was working at a criminal defense firm, I was doing the hiring. I was receiving resumes of folks that I went to law school with. And I had impressions about them. And guess what? Those resumes went to the bottom of the pile. If my impression was they spent the entire time in class on Facebook, they were distracting me because they sat in the front and they were just online the entire time, or they were consistently late, or they were texting during class, because all I could think about was, I don't want to practice with that individual. If they can't pull their weight in law school, they're certainly not going to pull it in the firm. So we create impressions, good and bad, but it's rare that we hear about the opportunities that we missed because of how we portrayed ourselves. So,
A couple of kind of types of relationships, and I think that this is very important, because if you know where you're driving your career path, you're going to have to step out of just that small circle you live in. And I say that because I'm from a town called Benton Harbor, Michigan. Has anybody ever heard of that place? Okay, it's a few people. It must be getting more popularity. The whole city, the whole city is 4 miles by 4 miles square. The whole city, 4 miles. That's it, home. But I still have and treasure those values that I learned there. But I had to get into the world of the Recording Academy, and I joined with you guys. You could join Grammy U. It's called Grammy University. It's for students. You know, and it gets you involved in the music industry, but those types of organizations that you may not be familiar with, or the American Bar Association, or the National Bar Association, or the Student Bar. When we were talking about, you know, you're having the Black Law Students Association, and they've got everything else from the Christian Law Students Associations, that you need to know that you can build another structure of friends. And I like the fact that that took me into having professional friends. I like the fact that I can call Ron Myers. He's the president of Universal Pictures, and he'll invite me into his office, and I know the little white sofa on the left-hand side because I've been there. But the little small guy from a small town saw other professional opportunities by getting to know those in those industries. So whatever area of law you elect to practice, be it criminal law, family law, commercial law, all are great practice areas. But find out a little bit more about them and start making friends, be that at city, you know, in your local cities, your city halls, your city councils, and they're always looking for volunteers. I mean, there's just so many other ways for you to expand your bandwidth in the direction that you choose to travel. So look at creating new relationships and look at expanding and taking those steps forward, because you'll always help those that are at home. I mean, you know, that's just those are homies. But at the end of the day, you got to become a professionally, and if such a word exists, so that you've got those professional relationships that will help you develop and expand your careers.
I think there's a way to do that that feels genuine to you. Not everybody's an extrovert. Not everybody is going to go to a big conference and feel comfortable meeting people they don't know. And so I think when you think about relationships and you think about relationship building, law is a service profession, and so it is a relationship business. But I think it's really important to think about who you are and what are your comfort zones and how do you truly connect with people, because if you're not genuine, anybody you meet, if you're not feeling comfortable, is not going to have the best impression of you. So I think that you can absolutely tailor who you meet and how you meet people, and create that kind of game plan for yourself in a way that feels genuine and authentic to yourself. And I think you will find you're far more successful if you remember those pieces that make you truly you, and then pursue things that way, as opposed to try to do things in what you think an extrovert would do. If you're an introvert, that's going to be a disaster.
No, I was actually going to say introvert. For introverts, it's a completely, as you mentioned, you need to know yourself in order to, because you don't want to live an extrovert life if you're not an extrovert.
And I will very briefly share, since they have said that, there are a lot of introverts in the field of law. I call myself an extroverted introvert. And there are a lot of students even, I spoke with some students this week who had to speak with some individuals and they were really nervous about it. And they're first year law students, right? And so you have to be comfortable in knowing how to be genuine. And oftentimes it's just walking up to someone and saying hello and introducing yourself. We don't want you to be someone that you are not. We want you to be you and to be comfortable in sharing your story and sharing who you are, right?
Thank you. And Sarah, thank you so much for leading up to this next question. So the next question is, how do you develop organic and genuine connections and relationships with people? And once you meet them, what is the most effective way to follow up with the people that you meet?
I think being genuinely intellectually curious about other people is the first step. You know, if you enjoy hearing, I enjoy hearing people's stories, so that's one of the first things I always ask somebody, tell me your story. And people always like to talk about themselves, so that's a great way to kind of start off. But I think you've got to come from a place of genuine interest. If you're not interested, and you're, you know, I live in DC, and it's not uncommon that people will be looking over your shoulder about who's coming in the door next, and that's just the worst way to go about doing things. You want to be really kind of focusing on that person in front of you, and take a nugget, because that's going to be someone that you can later on connect with. And if you find something that you connect with naturally, you're more likely to find something you connect with naturally if you actually listen to them and ask them questions about themselves. And that's going, so that when you reach back out to them, you know, especially if you're networking for a job or opening or whatnot, you know, one of the things is you want to be kind of networking and keeping in touch with people almost on a monthly basis. And if you have some sort of genuine point of connection, it's a lot easier to reach back out and say, hey, you know, let's go get coffee and talk about something that that person will remember, and will, you know, you're both sharing something as opposed to, I want something from you only. So this is all external facing, you know, projecting stuff. I think that if there's a natural flow, that always increases the odds that relationship will, you know, survive beyond that one meeting.
I would say, I agree, but I would also say, for human nature, we stick to who we know. So we always stick around our friends or close people that we can relate to, even if it's just by appearance. You may have to step out of your comfort zone to talk to an individual that you may not have spoken to but for this networking opportunity. During this conference, you should be meeting new people every single day, every single session, because that's the only way, because all of you will be law students at the same time. So you don't want your connections to end from today or from this weekend.
I would just say, you know, keep your word, be a person of your word. So if you meet someone and you say, I'm going to reach out to you, or I'm going to send you an email, do it. Follow up, you know, ask how they're doing. Again, you know, I never encourage people to start off by telling them what you want. So if you meet someone at this conference, and let's say you'd like to intern for them or work for them at some point, you know, reach out to them, establish a relationship before asking for something, you know, show genuine interest in them and getting to know them. If you met them and they talked about their children, let's say, you know, you could follow up and say, you know, how's your family doing? Just showing genuine interest in a person the way you would want them to do for you.
I would leave you with 2 points about networking. The first is to always be looking for the unexpected mentor. I think oftentimes we gravitate towards individuals who look like us. And oftentimes as you go through academia or in your professional careers, you'll find that there's less and less maybe that are people of color that are working in those fields, that are professors at your law school. I know certainly for myself, there was not an abundance of Latina professors and administrators. So had I been looking for a mentor in my institution who looked just like me, I would not have found one. So many of the mentors that I had early on in my career were nothing like me. However, we had a passion for the law, I had an interest in the work they were doing, and I built a relationship that way. I would encourage you all to be looking for the unexpected mentor throughout your career. The second point I would say is, when you go to events like this and you meet individuals, like all of the fabulous colleagues of mine on this panel, follow up with us. I go to panels, I go to law fairs, different speaking engagements, and I say to students, reach out to me. I'm happy to speak to you if you have questions about my law school in general, the legal career, how to write a resume, anything. I am committed to diversifying the legal profession. I know that this country needs all of you and your voices representing us and our perspectives. So I am committed to that. Oftentimes, though, many people don't reach out. So please take advantage of the individuals who tell you, we're here for you, we're happy to chat with you. I flew 4.5 hours from California. I'm not here to give you an empty, contact me and I won't reach back out to you. I mean it, I truly mean it. I care about the work. So please follow up with those individuals that are giving their time.
I think that's important. It is, because we are here to help, and many times you think that that's a soft effort, and it's really genuine. I mean, I lecture at a law school. I'll be there Monday at 5 o'clock on chapter 10, and they should be on time, and they know if they're late, you know, they've got a price to pay. So I'm always about this punctuality. I've got to let you know we're really genuinely here to help. And please, when you're looking at communicating with someone, I welcome the emails, but it's nothing wrong with picking up the telephone, because I don't know if I actually got your email. It could be in my spam file, my clutter file, and you'll think we're not interested in helping. You know, that old thing called the telephone is still a helpful tool. And I feel a lot better when I hear, you know, from that student. I'll go, listen, that student's at least really serious about wanting to have a question answered or looking for an internship. And we look at placing across this country. You know, just because I live in Houston doesn't mean there's not opportunities in Los Angeles, New York, Philadelphia, Chicago. So please use this conference as an asset that goes into your toolbox that you could use in days to come, not only in building your colleagues amongst yourselves, but us as those that are willing to say in front of everybody and on tape, please email me, please call me, let me see if I can help you.
Well, I wanted to say one last thing. The unexpected mentor is such a great bit of advice. My clients are primarily the large law firms, the big fancy law firms, and you know, it's like 5% of partners nationwide are partners of color. It's like 2% for women of color. So the odds are you are going to be the only one in the room most of the time, or they're going to mix you up with the one other, you know, person of color who may or may not be black, you know, that's around. And I think that, but there are different ways of connecting, and oftentimes when you're in environments like that, we put on a lot of different masks, and we put on a lot of different masks anyway, right? But you'll find that when you get out of school and you're out in the real world and you are one of the only ones over and over and over again, that you have a lot of armor on. And it's very difficult for you to create real and lasting relationships when you have so much armor on and you don't let people know a little bit about who you are. In DC, I started a group of mid to senior level women of color attorneys, and one of the things we talk about is how to kind of let people in a way that feels safe, because we're not always feeling safe in these environments. And to let that, you know, to take that mask off a little bit so that people will want to invest in us and will want to help us in our careers. Because a lot of times, when I talk with minority associates who aren't making it at their firms, and oftentimes people in their office don't know who they are, and they were too scared to let them know who they are. And so it's really important for us to be a little bit braver, and we have to be a little bit braver if you truly want to be successful in these sorts of environments. And it's hard, but you find your network and your support probably outside of those environments. You know, there's maybe only one in your office, but there's how many offices in town, so you all need to band together. So there are ways to kind of, as you think about relationships, if you are in a if you're the minority and majority environment, you want to make sure that you're letting them in a little bit in a way that you feel safe, and figuring out what that boundary is for yourself is really, really important.
Thank you for sharing that. Just one quick thing. For those of you in the New York, New Jersey area, for women, we have a group called Women of Color. Associates or soon-to-be associates, if you're thinking about going into a law firm or going into private practice, we have a group that's just women of color. We get together quarterly, and it's a really wonderful time. It's very encouraging, and I'm sure that there are other groups out there, but I do extend an invitation to those of you in that area. Please see me, and I'd love to give you info.
I have one quick point, and I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way, but I want to just caution that don't think that everyone who is a person of color is going to advocate for you how you want them to. So I felt the need to say that, but also don't think that a person who is a non-person of color cannot also be an advocate for you. I think that is really important, and you have to use wisdom in how you're talking to individuals and how you are looking to really further your career. So I think that the unexpected mentor it just hits it right on the head, that sometimes it's the unexpected person who may not even look like you who is going to be the person who is at the table, who is advocating for you. So I just wanted to share that.
I think the takeaway that I get from the panel is that we have to be inclusive in our networking. We have to be diverse in our networking and giving back. So I think that's a great takeaway. Thank you all for being here today and answering our many questions and sharing your wisdom and experience. We're going to go ahead and open the floor to questions of our panelists. There's mics around the room, so please feel free to go up and ask a question.
So there's a mic right behind you. Thank you.
Okay, so I have a background in social work, so taking care of your health is always something that's very important that we try to stress. My question to you is, a part of, I would say, the traditional persona of an attorney is one where we are type A, hardworking overachievers, and a part of that could sometimes mean taking on more responsibility, more tasks than we ultimately should, because then we're not able to balance it efficiently. So from your experience, how can you strategically say no without hurting your brand? That's my question.
I can.
I'm still working on that.
It's important.
Certainly, I'm working on that.
It's really important that you understand that life is finite. I mean, there's only 24 hours in a day. And you look and you wonder how you're able to accomplish what you can. And there's two tiers. One is time management. I mean, I only do meetings on Tuesdays and Thursdays. If you're meeting with me, it's going to be on a Tuesday or a Thursday. And then I use the other 3 days as far as telephone calls, if I've got to work on some agreements. I have the luxury that it's not a disadvantage being in Houston versus LA. At 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, it's 8 o'clock in New York. I start my day. By 7 o'clock that evening, it's 5 o'clock in LA. Again, I get to leverage East Coast or West Coast because my practice is entertainment law. So use your time as wisely and as efficiently as you can. And sometimes you have to say no. The one thing about the practice of law is I get to pick my clients. See, they can come in and I can say no, because you got bad clients. There really are some bad clients out here that you'll go, I don't want to work for this person, because of the personality and some of those things. So I'm not saying early in your career to, not necessarily have your eye peeled for who's going to help you advance your career as well, because that's the one thing about, us being humans is we've got to see what works with us and what does not. But from a time management perspective, that's critically important. And I normally try to stop at between 25 and 30 clients, personally, in my workload, because I never want to be that lawyer that can't take that call or can't return that call. And you got to know your client. I know who's calling at 4 a.m. I know who's going to call at 6 p.m. I know who's calling on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday because they're busy too. So I think the time management is number one, and you do have to say no. I mean, unfortunately, I'd have to refer them out to somebody else, or I'll let another lawyer in my office handle that workload. So you answered the two questions because those are critically and pivotally important to your success. Time management, efficiency, and then just knowing when that's all you can bear.
So when you're a junior associate, you are the most inefficient possible. Law school will teach you how to think. It'll somewhat teach you how to write. It'll teach you how to read, but you're a blank slate when you get out of law school and you go to a firm, and that's primarily who I work with, the people who go to the firms, to get the skills and the tools. So you are going to be highly inefficient because you don't know anything, and you're going to learn everything on the job. That's sort of how the industry is set up. When you are more senior and you are a brand and you're successful, you can say no, but when you are a junior associate, you don't say no. And it's really difficult. I was a social worker before law school, and I am a yogi and I teach yoga as well. And balance is huge. But balance, when the unit of revenue for your profession is the billable hour, is something that is very, very difficult to attain, if not impossible. Because every minute that you are awake, it's time when you can be making money, and these are businesses. So when you're a junior, it's very difficult to say no, and you do so at your peril, quite frankly. I think you need to think about it as an investment. When you're a junior, you work hard, you say yes, you get the reputation around your team and your firm that you are a go-getter and that you're truly excellent and have excellent skills. And then 4th, 5th, 6th year, you'll be able to have that flexibility, but you won't get it in the beginning. And that's, to be very honest, because you need to get the tools in the toolbox. That's so key. And for people that want to give you work, you have to be the person who says yes. So you might not have a lot of weekends by yourself, but by your 5th and 6th year, when they know you and you're an established brand, then you can start to have flexibility. You can work from home and things like that. But with law, balance is a really tough one, and people struggle with that all the way through their careers.
And I would say, just to piggyback on that, we are going to have to work harder. And that's just true.
Yep.
I agree.
We are going to have to work harder. You might find yourself in a situation like I was, where I was the only one at my law firm for a couple of years. And quite honestly, we have to prove that we deserve to be there. right? We know that we deserve to be here. We know that we're just as smart. We know that we're just as capable. We know that we're just as talented. But we're going to have to prove, sometimes by working harder, by staying later, right? By coming in on weekends, sometimes even working on holidays, and doing things that other people don't do because they don't have to do it, but we have to do it. So in the beginning, and I'm just being very honest, that balance may not be there. And you don't want to do so, at the expense of your health. You need to make wise decisions, but please understand that coming out of law school and coming into the legal profession, especially if you go into private practice, you might be the only one that looks like you there. So there is going to be an expectation that you're going to perform above and beyond everyone else simply because you have to.
And I think we're going to run against time, but we have to get everyone's question who's at the microphone. So we'll get about 2 folks to answer each one, and then we'll move on. Okay? Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much. My name is Nye Macklin, and my question is around mistakes, the bad days, and social media. So my question is, how do we, as inherently political bodies, because blackness and black bodies and identity are inherently political in my eyes, and many of the national issues that black bodies face is systemic and government and police-sanctioned violence against black bodies. So, for example, the murder of Trayvon Martin. How do you recommend that we navigate as desensitized versions of ourselves when to be in America and to be black is to be in a constant state of rage? But I'm wondering how, in regard to when a nation, a society, or even a potential employer doesn't want to or is not ready to face that history.
I'll take a stab at that one. So I would say with social media, so like for instance, my personal social media, I would have not another hashtag, I have many other things. You can be political and you can stand for what you personally believe in. It's how you present it. It's the judgment call on how you present it. That's also to what employers and everyone else, the outside world, is going to see. How are you presenting it to the world? Are you presenting it with logical reason, or are you just presenting it as there?
And I'll also add to that just a couple different things. One, from my background of working on the Hill, if you want to work in a nonpartisan office, maybe for like the Ethics Committee or the Office of the General Counsel in the House of Representatives, they do look at partisan charged language because they're a nonpartisan office, right? So you have to understand that. On the alternative, if you want to work for the Progressive Caucus, they embrace things, right? So you have to understand where it is that you want to work and understand that you can work at